So, have you ever really stopped to wonder what it takes to keep a beautiful travel spot, well, beautiful? It's definitely not magic. Turns out, it's this whole complex web of people and rules all working towards one goal. So, let's pull back the curtain and meet the real guardians of paradise.
Yeah, you see a shot like this and you immediately think escape, right? Pristine nature. But behind this picture-perfect moment, there's a huge system of people, regulations, and organizations all working in the background. So what does it actually take to keep a place like this from just disappearing?
Well, the answer is a massive team effort. And in this explainer, we're going to meet the whole crew. I'm talking everyone from the tourists and guides on the ground floor, all the way up to the global organizations that are basically writing the international playbook.
All right, first up, let's talk about the core experience. Because, sustainable tourism isn't some top-down policy that just happens. It's a grassroots thing, and it all begins with the people who are actually there.
What's so cool here is this kind of triangle of responsibility. It all starts with us, right? The tourists making smart choices. Then you've got the tour operators. They're the ones designing our adventures, and they have a duty to make them sustainable and respectful. And holding it all together at the base, the local communities. They are the true guardians. When these three work together, tourism doesn't just take, it actually gives back.
But look, individual actions are great, but they can only go so far. For real, lasting protection, you need an official line of defense. So let's meet the guardians, the government agencies whose actual job is to protect a country's natural treasures.
In Malaysia, this job is split between three main guardians, and each one has its own turf. You've got one for the wildlife on land, one for the ecosystems in the sea, and one for the huge forest that covers so much of the country. Okay, first up is the Department of Wildlife and National Parks. Think of them as the protectors of the animal kingdom. These are the folks on the front lines, in a constant battle against poachers to save incredible species like the Malayan tiger. But they're not just enforcers, they're also educators, teaching us why all of this is so incredibly precious.
Next, let's dive under the waves with the Department of Marine Parks. Their whole mission is to protect some of the most vibrant, but also most fragile ecosystems on the planet, our coral reefs. They're basically the gatekeepers for islands like Dtm, making sure our love for this underwater world doesn't accidentally destroy it. And rounding out the trio, we have the Department of Forestry. They're in charge of the country's massive forest reserves, and they have to strike this really delicate balance. They're fighting illegal logging, but at the same time, they're building the canopy walks and hiking trails that let us experience the forest. It's all about enjoying it while making sure it's still there for generations to come.
So, we've met the players on the ground and the official guardians. But here's the thing, they aren't just making it up as they go along. They're all following a national playbook, a set of laws and policies that acts as the official rule book for protecting paradise.
And what's so important to get is that none of this happens by accident. It's all part of a carefully designed framework. It kicks off with a big picture strategy, the National Ecotourism Plan, which kind of sets the whole direction. And then you have these specific laws for each domain, the Wildlife Act for the animals, the Forestry Act for the trees, and marine park regulations for the oceans. You put them all together, and you get this comprehensive shield of protection.
But the government and its citizens aren't in this fight alone. No way. They're backed up by this powerful network of allies, both on the world stage and right there at home. Okay, let's zoom out for a second to the global level and meet a major ally, UNESCO. You can pretty much think of them as the world's curator for natural and cultural treasures. Their mission is global, but as we're about to see, their impact can be super local.
In Malaysia, for instance, UNESCO's influence is massive. When they designate a place like Kinabalu Park as a World Heritage Site, that brings global attention and, importantly, resources. But they do way more than just hand out labels. They support really innovative ideas like biosphere reserves, and they push for community-based tourism, which helps make sure that conservation actually benefits the people who live there.
And it's not just the government and global players. Back at home, you have these amazing NGOs playing a critical role. This slide shows two sides of the same coin. On one hand, you've got groups like MNS, who focus on education and hands-on conservation. On the other, you have groups like SAM, who act as watchdogs, advocating for community rights. One builds, the other defends, and you absolutely need both. And all of this brings us full circle, right back to you. We've seen the whole team, from the local guide to the global organization. We get it now. Keeping paradise pristine is this huge coordinated effort. So the real question is, when you're a part of that picture on your next trip,
What role are you going to play?
Because at the end of the day, here's the big takeaway. Paradise isn't a place you just find. It's a place we build and maintain together. And that idea of shared responsibility, that's the one souvenir truly worth bringing home from every single trip.